Mr. Bob's Railroad Workbench, where we talk about trains and history and math and science and do it with some fun activities. I'm Bob Lettenberger, Mr. Bob, Education Director for the National Railroad Museum. If you are watching us live on Facebook and want to type in with a question, feel free to do so. We'll answer those questions after the segment. If you want to just type in and let us know who you are and where you're watching from, we'd love to hear from you. Also, make sure that you like the National Railroad Museum's Facebook page. Well, today we have the story of John Calhoun Deegan. Mr. Deegan was born here in the United States in 1853, and as he grew, he became an accomplished musician playing the clarinet. In 1880, Mr. Deegan formed the J.C. Deegan Company Incorporated. It was originated in St. Louis, Missouri. Mr. Deegan eventually moved his company to Chicago, Illinois. Surprisingly, Mr. Deegan's company did not make clarinets. They did manufacture musical instruments, but they made percussion instruments, instruments that you need to strike to play. Mr. Deegan's musical instruments, the chimes that he made, were absolutely beautiful. Orchestral gongs, chimes, xylophones, all of them came out of the Deegan factory, and orchestras the world over loved them for their beautiful, pure, clear sounds. So what does all this have to do with railroads? Well, if you go to the early part of the 1900s, people traveling by train expected a certain level of sophistication. And to be called to a meal by the steward just walking up and down the train going, "Hey, the diner's open," probably wasn't going to be the best or most acceptable way for the passengers on board. Enter Mr. Deegan's Chime Company. The Deegan Chime Company manufactured two different types of chimes for railroad use, a 5-chime model and a 3-chime model. And with this, the dining car steward could walk through the train and announce that the dining car was open for the next meal. Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. We are about to seat the first seating in our dining car this evening. Please join us as you travel along your way to Chicago tonight. We're glad to have you aboard. Now, a much more sophisticated way of bringing folks to their evening meal as opposed to just yelling at them. Now, there's a little twist to our story. You might have recognized those 3 notes that I just played on our Deegan dining car chime. Did you? Well, here's the twist to the story. As railroads were reaching their peak of travel in the 20s and 30s, the National Broadcasting Company, or as we know them today, NBC, was beginning their venture into radio with their first radio network. And the Deegan Chime Company had made a 3-chime that was used by NBC to create that signature call sound. Railroads used either under license those 3 notes or a chime of their own. In fact, in 1938, NBC reached an agreement with the Baltimore and Ohio Railroad to be the first to use those 3 notes in summoning their diners. Now, there's a further little twist to the story. About the same time, 1938, NBC, wanting to popularize their call tones, contracted with the New Tone Chime Company of Cincinnati, Ohio, to make a chime model that would be for sale to the public. So the first time that Baltimore and Ohio passengers heard those chimes, it probably was on a Deegan chime, but it could also have been on a New Tone chime. But the mystery still remains. What are those 3 notes? Well, you still hear them today, and those 3 notes happen to represent the parent company for NBC. At the time, the General Electric Company, GEC, owned 30% of the NBC network, and those were the 3 notes that were used. So, a little interesting twist in history from the dining car on our railroads, the Deegan dining car chime, a most beautiful musical instrument. The National Railroad Museum inspires lifelong learning by providing dynamic educational opportunities through the preservation of railroad objects, engaging exhibits, and innovative programs. As a nonprofit educational institution, we are supported by both public and private donations and our museum members. For more information on how you can support the National Railroad Museum or become a museum member, please visit our website, National Railroad Museum or nationalrrmuseum.org. Hey, I'm Mr. Bob. Thanks for visiting Mr. Bob's Railroad Workbench, and we hope to see you again real soon.